Do you know who the biggest owners of Apple stock are? If you look it up, you will see that the top three are Vanguard, who owns 8.7%, BlackRock, who owns 6.9%, and State Street, who owns 3.5%. Now look up Microsoft and you will see the same thing. The top three owners are Vanguard with 9%, BlackRock with 7.5%, and State Street with 4%. Keep looking up big companies and you will see these names again and again. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. So how much do these three big corporations own? As of September 2025, the trio manages over $28 trillion in assets under management. Vanguard at $11 trillion, BlackRock at $12.5 trillion, and State Street at $5.1 trillion, giving them stakes in nearly every public company proportional to market weight. Their reach is global. In the UK, they hold 16.4% of the market, in Ireland 19%, in Australia 13%, and in 16 other markets from Japan to Brazil, they hold at least 5% of listed equities.
How much, Joe, have you looked at, Larry Fink, Soros, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock? How much have you looked at what they're doing and what their ties are?
I've looked at it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're pretty much running everything.
Yeah.
Among the three groups, State Street is by far the smallest. Yet, the company alone manages over $3.5 trillion in assets and nearly doubled the current GDP of Brazil. However, when we look at the largest shareholders of State Street, to our surprise, we find Vanguard and BlackRock in the first and second positions. BlackRock is the largest and most well-known arm of the big three. The company manages over $10 trillion in assets and has strong connections with governments, being considered by the press as the fourth power of the American nation. BlackRock has close ties with the world's largest central banks, particularly the Federal Reserve Bank. Many of BlackRock's employees are former high-ranking government and central bank officials. In addition to being an asset manager, BlackRock is also an auditing and consulting firm, with its main clients being governments and central banks. The auditing arm of BlackRock, called BlackRock Solutions, is often invited by governments to audit and oversee financial institutions. At the same time, BlackRock's asset management division is often the majority shareholder of the very same financial institutions that it audits. In other words, governments hire BlackRock to oversee and audit companies that are owned by BlackRock itself. And during audits, BlackRock Solutions has constant access to privileged information from competitors, which is extremely useful for them. In March 2020, the Federal Reserve chose, without any kind of bidding process, BlackRock's consulting arm to manage the Emergency Asset Purchase Program, which included the purchase, surprisingly, of the very funds managed by BlackRock. According to the company itself, none of these cases constitute a conflict of interest, as BlackRock claims that the sectors responsible for auditing, consulting, and asset management are separate and entirely independent entities.
So right now in America, in virtually every sector of our economy, whether it's agriculture, transportation, financial services, whatever, you got a handful of giant multinationals controlling that sector. But here's another amazing fact. Who do you think owns these corporations? You remember there was a day where somebody actually owned General Motors or owned Ford. Mm-hmm. They're now owned by Wall Street firms. You got three Wall Street investment firms. BlackRock, you're familiar with BlackRock, they're
Vanguard
giant.
and State Street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Check it out on Google. They are combined, the three of them combined, are the major stockholders of 95% of American corporations. How's that?
That's not good.
That's power.
Right.
BlackRock has shareholders, and the largest among them, to my surprise, is none other than Vanguard. Vanguard Group is an investment management company as well as a consultancy firm. It has over $7 trillion in assets under management and is the largest provider of mutual funds and the second largest provider of index funds in the world. Vanguard and State Street have approximately $30 trillion in assets under management. That's more than all sovereign wealth funds combined and nearly 5 times the size of the global hedge fund industry. The Big Three, as they are commonly known, have direct control over more than 1,600 large companies that employ a total of 23 million people worldwide. These three investment funds together own approximately 90% of the companies listed in the S&P 500. This amounts to around $30 trillion in updated values, a figure surpassing the GDP of any sovereign nation on the planet. The power of these three companies goes beyond what your imagination can grasp. Just out of curiosity, when you visit the Yahoo Finance website and search for the largest shareholders of the biggest companies in the world, the probability of not finding one of these 3 companies among them is extremely low. The larger the company and the greater its influence over people's lives, the higher the probability that it is controlled by at least one of these 3 funds. All the big tech companies such as Google, IBM, Amazon, and Facebook are controlled by them. All the major media corporations like Disney, Viacom, Fox, Time Warner, and Comcast as well. Major pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, along with numerous other large companies in the airline, hospitality, apparel, food, automotive, banking, and payment sector are also under their control. From Coca-Cola to Pepsi, from Apple to Microsoft, from Visa to MasterCard, from the electric car and solar panel sector to the oil and mining sector, these 3 groups own the largest companies in all sectors across all industries. And if you have doubts about it, don't just take my word for it, verify it yourself.
In terms of our entire economy, and I want everybody to hear this, we should all understand that just 3 Wall Street firms, 3, 1, 2, 3, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, control $22 trillion in assets, which is roughly the equivalent of the entire gross domestic product of the United States of America. 3 companies. And when you have that kind of power, you are impacting hundreds and hundreds of corporations where you are a major stockholder and the lives of millions and millions of workers.
If you didn't know any better, this would look a little fishy. How is it that these 3 companies own significant amounts of every publicly traded company? Is this some sort of Illuminati-level cover-up? Are they secretly running the world? The good news is, the reality is much simpler and less dramatic. The reason Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street dominate the shareholder lists is straightforward. They manage massive amounts of money on behalf of millions of investors through mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. The real owners are the millions of people and institutions investing through retirement accounts, pensions, endowments, and brokerage accounts. When you invest in one of their funds, like a popular index fund, you become a part owner of all the companies within that index. The collective ownership from millions of fund investors is what gives these firms their sizable stakes in major companies. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are record owners and fiduciary managers of those assets. Think of them as trustees holding keys to a vault of other people's assets. They safeguard the vault, can vote the shares inside it, and engage with companies, but the treasure belongs to clients.
These guys essentially have a monopoly. Well, how big is BlackRock? $10 trillion. How big is $10 trillion? Only 2 countries have a bigger GDP than what BlackRock has, assets under management, US and China. That's how big BlackRock is.
While Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street may not be controlling the world from behind the scenes, they do still have significant voting power at nearly every major US public company. The reason why is because of something called proxy voting. Proxy voting is when a fund provider votes on behalf of the owners of their funds. In this case, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street vote on management proposals so that you or I don't have to. They do this because getting the vote of every fund owner on every management proposal for every company would be a logistical nightmare. Think about it. Would you want to vote on every proposal across every company you own in an S&P 500 index fund? I wouldn't. For some context, according to Vanguard's 2023 Investment Stewardship Report, their team voted on over 30,000 different management proposals just in the Americas. This is why proxy voting exists, because it's far more efficient and sensible to outsource your voting decisions to a fund company who employs a large team of people to do this on your behalf. This concentration of voting power can raise some concerns. A relatively small group of people at these firms are making decisions on behalf of millions of shareholders. While they aren't running the companies directly, this voting power gives them a level of influence over corporate governance that deserves attention. Not really, because this year alone, the Big Three supported management nominees more often than in prior years. Vanguard at 75% for large-cap contests, while pushing for AI and cybersecurity governance. They can't control and change everything based on their interest because their influence is significant in boardrooms and ballots, but constrained by fiduciary duties, index mandates, and the reality that most proposals must win broad shareholder support.
These guys are smart, they're hardworking, they're motivated, they want more and more. So if I can buy this, I can buy this, I can sell this.
Right, but they're all doing it within the law, right?
Yeah.
Right,
But,
which is that the problem?
Yeah, but who makes that law?
Please don't forget to subscribe if you find this video informative, and please hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we post another video.